All right. Today's question is coming from somebody who says, I have been applying for jobs online. I have submitted multiple applications. I have been interviewed for a few, but up to now I haven't landed anything. What is wrong? Okay. If this is you, you actually have a good problem, and I'm going to show you how you can fix it. Now, when it comes to your online job search and application process and all that jazz, I want you to think about it as a two-stage process. The first step is to get to the interview, and the second step is to land the job. A lot of people have issues at the first step, which is actually getting the interview. What gets you into the interview is your application package, right? What you present to the employers, your platforms, your cover letter, your resume, and so forth. That is what gets you to the interview. And a lot of people who are not getting interviews, generally when I do coaching, I will focus on that. But if your issue is that you have gotten a few interviews but you haven't landed a job, it's a completely different problem. And I'm going to break it down for you. And I will say it's still a good problem to have because it means that your applications are getting viewed. You are getting feedback, employers are interested in you, and the next step is to essentially nail the interview. So for you, if that applies to you, and to answer the question of the person who asked this question, and I'm sure it's going to serve and help a lot more people. The focus here will be to actually be on your interviews, what happens during the interview, and what happens after the interview. That is where your game is played, right? Now, the thing is, when it comes to online job interviews, just like and even if it's just not an online job interviews, even if it's a regular job interview where they are interviewing you virtually, or even if it's in person, there are a lot of things that people don't usually pay attention to. And the first one is preparing for interviews. Even I, as somebody who has worked remotely for the past 15 years and who has coached people on how to land remote work opportunities, and people have used those skills also for in-person jobs, I will tell you, I still prepare for interviews. Interview preparation is key to help you shine in the eyes of an employer. And let me tell you, when you are not prepared for interviews, it shows. It doesn't, like, even if you are the most eloquent, the most well-spoken person, if you are not prepared for the interview, it shows. Let me tell you why this matters. Jobs have specific requirements, specific things that they are looking at when they are looking for somebody to fill the position. And when you come on the interview, your goal is to show that you understand that and you meet those requirements. Even if you don't meet all the requirements, because let's be honest, you always not, like, employers are not always going to get the person who meets like 100% of the requirements. But when you come in on the interview, you need to present yourself as a person who understood what the job is about, understood what the role is going to entail, and who has what the client is looking for to fulfill that role. Okay, and that is usually where the mismatch is happening, where you will come on an interview and maybe you've been applying for jobs on, like, you've been sending bulk applications, and you're like, at this point, you know what, whoever responds to me. When the interview comes, I'm gonna know what to do, and that's fine. But the thing is, when you are being selected for an interview, you have to prepare for that specific interview for that specific job. That is one of the key determining factors that make you go to the next round, which could be a second round of interviews, or that makes you land the job. I kid you not. I have hired online. I have worked on interview panels. I have hired for in-person positions. I have hired for online positions. I have worked with recruiters. I have been on the side of recommending, and I can tell you, and even I have been interviewed online, and I can tell you, even like from my personal experience, it's like some jobs I went on the interview and I knew I wasn't prepared. I tried to do my best, and while the interview was going on, based on the questions that the recruiting the recruiter was asking me, and the way I was answering, I was like, I could tell he knew I wasn't prepared for that specific interview. I could tell from the way he followed up, from the way he was looking at me, from the way he kind of like dove deeper. I could tell, I could feel it, right? And that's why I want to tell you that if you are being interviewed but not landing the job, one of the issue could be your interview itself. And sometimes you might feel like, the interview went real well, I really had a good vibe. But baby, interviewers are trained to make you feel good and to make you have a good vibe. I mean, they're not coming intentionally to make you feel a good vibe, but it's like if an interviewer can detect that you are uncomfortable or you are getting nervous and so forth, they know that they have to make you feel more comfortable, because honestly, under circumstances where we are like feeling the nerves, all of us can kind of like, mess up, right? So interviewers know how to look beyond that and actually get to the point. And well, some interviewers do that. And so even if you feel like the interview went well and so forth, it's not always about like the feeling. Sometimes the feeling can be telling, but it's like you have to go beyond that feeling, because you can be feeling that the interview went well and all that stuff and you still don't get a job. Then how do you explain that, right? So the first thing, if you are in a position where you feel like you've had a few interviews but you haven't landed a job, I will be really excited to actually work with you to see, first of all, how you prepare for those interviews, to do a mock interview with you, to see how you answer the questions, both the technical questions that you are, the questions on technical skills that you bring to the job, the questions on technical skills that the job requires but you don't have, and the behavioral question skills. So that is another part of it. So answering the questions, it's like in what I just said, I spoke about three types of questions that usually come up in interviews. The questions on technical skills that you clearly have, right? And you know that, and that makes you feel like, yeah, I'm very, very confident I can land this job. The second type of questions that come up are the technical skills that you don't have. Sometimes there are opportunities that you see and it's like, you know you'll be a good fit for it, but you're like, I don't have that skill that you're looking for, but I still want to apply. And sometimes they will ask you about those skills. So how do you handle yourself when they are asking questions about things that you don't know or you're not comfortable with? There is a strategy to that. And then there are behavioral questions. A lot of us, you will be surprised. A lot of us, we take behavioral questions for granted, or you feel like, you know what, I just have to be myself. Yes, you have to be yourself, but you have to be your strategic self, okay? Behavioral questions are designed to answer specific questions, sorry for the repetition, but they also show specific aspects of your personality. And sometimes an interviewer would ask behavioral questions that you are expecting if you are very familiar with job interview processes, like you've had a few interviews. But sometimes it can also ask questions just to throw you out of your game, to see how you respond under pressure. How do you respond to that? How do you train? How do you prepare for that? How do you even identify that, okay, this is a question where they just want to see how I respond when I'm off tracks, or this is a question where they want to see a part of my personality that will be important for this job, or this is a question where they really just want to feel the vibe of who I am. So even that is a skill, to figure out how to know these questions, how to know how to identify those things while you are under pressure, while you are in front of the person who's going to decide whether or not you get the job, while you are dealing with all the things inside of your head, like, oh my god, I'm not good enough, while you are trying to battle imposter syndrome and still show up on that interview, without crying, smiling, and appearing confident. That is a lot. I know that is a lot. And like, even saying this out loud like that, I know it's a lot. For somebody who is experienced, I know it's a lot. For somebody who has like intermediate experience, I know it's a lot. And for somebody who doesn't really have experience but is getting interviews, I know it's a lot. So yeah. But I just wanted to reiterate again that if you are getting interviews but you are not getting the job, the first step, the first area that I would want to diagnose would be your interview preparation, your interview process, and how you handle an online job interview. How do you research the company? How do you prepare for the questions that they are going to ask you? How do you introduce yourself? How do you, like, so many things that happen during that 15 minutes or 30 minutes interview, because they usually like that. Sometimes it can be 45 to an hour. I don't think I've had an hour interview, but I know people who have had like an hour interview for an hour, but like in different panels. So yes, there are different components of that. Then the second aspect that I will look at if you are getting job interviews but you're not getting the job is, what is your post-interview process, right? Again, from I will always be talking to you guys from my personal experience, and I will talk to you also from the experience of the clients that I have had the opportunity to work with, and I've seen what works in different industry. We're talking healthcare, finances, tech, accounting, and customer service, virtual assistants, and so forth. What makes some people shine compared to others, even if you've had like what you would consider a terrible interview. So your post-interview process is important. How do you follow up? How often should you follow up? If you can follow up, what are the things that you can do, right? And how do you basically like organize yourself for next opportunity? So those are the things that I will focus on if you are somebody who is getting interviews but not getting the job. At the end of the day, I want to wrap it up by saying that, if you're getting interviews, it's already a good thing. But maybe here the challenge is actually fine-tuning what happens during the interview and after the interview. And I would love to work with you to really see what you're doing and see what are ways in which you can improve it to make sure that the next time you get an interview, you actually land the job. Now, if you've watch my previous videos that I have been posting throughout this past, I think we are on day what, 5 or 6, I can't remember, but like the beginning of this series that I'm doing, you'll see that I've been talking about my remote work guide, my remote fast track accelerator. But I want to tell you about my VIP coaching program, because I think that if you are at a stage where you are getting interviews but you're not getting the job, you need something more specific, you need something more tailored, you need something that is like very specific to your needs. And that is where the VIP coaching program comes in. In this VIP coaching program, I actually work with you on one-on-one for a period of 6 months. And you know what, if you get a job before that, let's do it. Like, I would be like, you know what, bye, see you next time. But that would have been mission accomplished, right? So I work with you on one-on-one to pinpoint exactly what is the issue or what is the challenge or what needs to be tweaked on, and we really focus on that. One of the things that a lot of clients who have worked with me on the VIP and one-on-one basis say is that they feel like generally they've taken group coaching programs before, but the group coachings do not really pinpoint their own personal issues when it comes to applying and landing jobs. And so really having that dedicated time, dedicated attention to focus on what needs to work for them is what is really helping them get the results that they will not see anywhere else. So I will put in the comments of this video the link to this VIP coaching program. The last intakes for the year are going to be October 1st, November 1st, and December 1st. I work with just 3 VIP clients a month, and if you want to be one of them, I think I already have 2 slots taken for October. Not I think, I know I already have 2 clients for October, so but you can still get one of the slots for October. You can sign up for November, you can sign up for December. I think that a lot of times, and this I'm a very methodical person, and I think a lot of times you might not necessarily benefit from a group approach, because you are at a different level, at a different stage, and you might more benefit from that individual approach based on what the specific issue is for you. And that's why I wanted to show you really the breakdown of what it could look like if your issue is that you are getting interviews but you are not getting the job. So if you, for example, come in a group program, right, where the main challenge that people have is they're actually not getting interviews, they just like, they don't even know where to apply, or they are afraid of applying for jobs, or they don't believe that they can get the job. Those issues are different from somebody who has been applying consistently, who is like sure of their skills, knows what they have to offer, knows the platform, but the challenge is that they are getting interviewed but they are not getting the jobs. And that is where this tailored, personalized, like really, really zoned in approach comes in. So yeah, I wanted to break this down to you. Y'all, I'm not even gonna try too hard. The lighting is probably gonna be terrible, but the reason I'm recording this part is because the memory card space was out, and before I could end the video, and I wanted to end the video on my own terms. So anyways, I was done talking. This was the end of the video, and I wanted to say see you tomorrow in the next video.